Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the album Vengeance of Hell by the band Living Death. This album came out in 1984/1985, and this is their debut album. Living Death is or was a speed metal slash thrash metal band. But they became thrash metal later on, but this is pretty much just speed metal album. Anyway, so I'm gonna name off the band members first. Thorsten Bergman on vocals, Frank Fricke on guitar, Rainer Kelch on guitar, and Dieter Kelch on bass. All right. So the first song is called "You and Me." This is a great way to start off the album. The way this particular song, the way they I don't know if it's the production or just how it overall turned out, but it's very interesting because the vocals stand out the most, and yes, the guitars, bass, and drums are all audible, but it seems like the main focus on especially this song and maybe like one other that I'll get to later on are the vocals. Like the instruments are in the background except for when they need to be in the foreground, which I'll get to more on that later on. But yeah, the placing of the how they did the audio is pretty interesting and pretty well done. Anyway, so I'm gonna start with the vocals. So the vocals are I don't know how to describe them, but if they're basically they feel like they're almost inspired by Bon Scott from AC/DC. They have that Bon Scott-esque quality, especially on the higher notes. The vocals on this song and for most of the album have a really interesting range where they go from mid-range kind of normal thrashy vocals, also lower register grunts and growls, and then the high pitch sort of shrill shrieks. Not super shrill or high pitch, but it's there. Yeah, I really love the vocals on this one. Again, at their highest, they kind of sound like Bon Scott from AC/DC a little bit. And the riffing is really good. Nothing super. It doesn't really stand out that much. There's some that will later on, but the riffing is definitely very good and suits the song very well. The drumming is also really good. Another really interesting thing to note is the guitar solo. The riffs and just the vocals themselves are very reminiscent of pretty much speed metal. The guitar solo sounds almost like classic, traditional heavy metal inspired. In a way, it kind of sounds like something that would be on like a early Iron Maiden album or something. I mean, it's not like the solo is short but sweet, but it stands out. And it's just really cool sounding. The next song is the name of the band, Living Death. This is probably the not highest, but like probably the most pronounced for the long majority of a song that Thorsten Bergman's vocals get. Yeah, I said that they get high pitch from time to time, little spurts here and there, but he's pretty much almost like on the higher register throughout the entirety on this second song. And it's really cool. Like, it's not really done on any other song. Like again, on most of all of the other songs, he sort of goes back and forth between the higher pitches and the more raspy sort of not growls, but like more raspy, almost thrash metal vocals. But here he sticks to the higher register for almost the entire song, which I find pretty unique, considering the rest of the album. Um, as for the riffs, I think the riffs are maybe a little bit too simplistic. I mean, they're not bad. I do think they're catchy enough, but I think they could have varied the rhythm just a little bit. But that's just a minor nitpick. I still enjoy the riffs. I just think they are not. I know. I just prefer. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm rambling on. But yeah, the riffs are good. Just my personal opinion on the song. They could have been a little bit more varied and. But yeah, overall the song's really really good. Um, the next song is called Nightlight. This is the only song on the album I don't really like. The musicality wise, it's really good, but the vocals sort of ruin it. The main reason is because the tone of the song is pretty different from the rest of the album. The rest of the album is pretty much fast paced, higher energy speed metal with those high pitched vocals mixed with the mid register sort of more gruff vocals and stuff like that, and just chaoticness. Whereas Nightlight is more of a not it's not really a ballad, but it is more of a slowed down emotional, almost, I mean, kind of in a way a love song ish type thing. It has that feel to it, and just I was forget how to pronounce his name. Thorst. I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna refer to him as Thorstein from now on. Thorstein's vocal in terms of his ability, it just doesn't fit. Like he works very well as a speed metal vocalist, but when he's trying to slow things down and it just doesn't work. I don't know how to describe it very well, but he just can't quite get it right. He can't quite make his he doesn't have a good super wide range. I guess he has a very specific kind of style, and it doesn't really deviate from that. And this is the only time he deviates from it, and it just doesn't really work that well. But yeah, the rest of the song, like again, the instrumentation wise, it's really good, but the vocals just kind of kill the song for me. Um, the next song is probably I'd say my second favorite song on here. It's called "My Victim." This is actually, I believe, the second or third song I ever heard from this album. Before I ever heard the album as a whole. This one's really good. It's one of the very few songs that, interesting enough, has sort of a echoey effect. What is it called again? I don't know. What is it called? I don't know. I for some reason at the moment I can't think of the effect that it's called, but it's like, the echoey effect they put on vocals back in the mid '80s and like thrash metal albums and traditional heavy metal as well. That's from time to time. Reverb, that's it. They have a reverb effect on them, which I think only pops up on like one or two other songs, but briefly. Whereas the majority of the vocals on this song, "My Victim," have the reverb effect almost all the time. And it's not something that like alters the vocals so much to the point where it sounds fake or anything, or he's trying to hide not being able to sing. It's just there, I guess, as an effect, just to sort of add to the feel of the song, and it works very very well. This song, it's kind of interesting because along with the reverb effect, it also has probably the longest sort of time frame besides the title track of the band, "Living Death," that he has the higher pitch. Now, sure, unlike the other song, the previous song, he doesn't do it the entire time, but he does do it quite a lot in this song as well. His higher register. There aren't many breaks between that and the lower register on this one, but there's a few. But yeah, really cool sort of vocal delivery on this one. Also, another really good sort of energetic riff, and another very short but sweet melodic guitar solo, and of course the drumming's great as well. The next song is actually an instrumental, and it's called "Labyrinth," and this does very much remind me of like Iron Maiden with their instrumental Transylvania. Now, it's definitely not as long as Transylvania, and it's definitely not as, intricate, but it does have that feel. It has that same sort of feel of an early traditional heavy metal instrumental that it just has that feel to it that is just very, it's awesome. And it sounds very epic too. Like, it has a very epic, almost adventure type vibe to it. But yeah, Labyrinth, great way to end side one. Starting off side two is a song called Heavy Metal Hurricane, and it's self-explanatory, really. The song sounds like a heavy metal hurricane. Like, it's super fast, super energetic. It sounds like a hurricane. It sweeps you off of your feet. Just a very powerful sort of chaotic energy within the entirety of the song, and the riffs just add so much to the energy that's already there from the song as a whole, and it's just really cool. And it has probably my second favorite guitar solo on the entire album. Again, it's very, while the singing and the riffs and the drum work are, again, very much speed metal, the solos are very much rooted in traditional heavy metal, at least, from what I hear from them. But yeah, just another great song, and it's self-explanatory. Sounds like a heavy metal hurricane. Obviously, that's why the title is called Heavy Metal Hurricane. Yeah, great song. Next song is called Hellpike. This one has an interesting opening to it. Like, it sort of catches you off guard because, while the rest of the song is pretty energetic and fast, the opening is very moody and slow. When you hear it for the first time with the opening, you think you're gonna hear more of a moody, sort of a slow, more moody, more sort of atmospheric type song. But then it quickly goes into the main riff that's just, like with many other riffs on here, super fast, chaotic, but also very catchy and just headbanging. It's a really cool song. I love songs like that. I love songs that sort of like, not really tricky, but sort of catch you off guard, basically. You think it's going to be one thing, but then it's going to be another. I think that's really cool. But yeah, the main riff is really, really cool. Another really short but sweet melodic guitar solo. And, of course, the vocals are great. The next song is called Writing a Version. This one also has a pretty interesting opening. Now, it's not like I guess, not like a catch you off guard kind of opening, but it is a very cool opening that sort of sets the mood for the rest of the song. You'll see a theme of that with the last three songs. Yeah, this one's pretty much like the rest, pretty much just straight up speed metal. His Thorsten. Sorry, it's very hard to pronounce these names because they're German, not, so the names are pretty odd. But anyway, so the vocals on here are very different from the rest. On the rest of the album, they're very, I guess you could say, toned down or held back, and it doesn't ruin the song at all. Like, this one is very controlled, like very, I don't know. It's weird trying to describe it, but it works for the song somehow. Like, yeah, they're sort of toned down, they're sort of, held back a little bit, but for whatever reason, they work. He does have the high pitch on this one, but it's very contained, and it get toned down and stuff like that. But it's very, it works with the mood, I guess. But yeah, great song. And then next is the title track of the album and my favorite song on here, Vengeance of Hell. This is super cool. I mean, the opening sets a very cool mood and atmosphere. It starts off with this really cool opening riff. It's sort of very wavy and sort of very fluid. It just has a very cool sort of like sound to it. And then it sort of like stays on that for a little bit, then slowly starts building up in the background. Like, you hear the riff in the foreground, in the background something starts, building up and building up, and then almost right away after that, it cuts into the main riff of the song, super heavy. Super heavy for a speed metal riff, really. Then also, this isn't really like fast-paced song. It's sort of a more very slow, very moody, brooding type song, really. Um, but yeah, the main riff is really cool, very evil and sinister sounding. And I love how the vocals, when the main riff plays, the vocals go hand in hand with the main riff. Like the notes that the riff are on, the vocals match that. Now that's not for the entirety of the song, just with whenever the main riff pops up in the beginning and near the end of beginning and sort of near the end of the song. But I almost said near the middle of the song, but no. And it just works very well. I love how the vocals in the main riff work very well in tandem with one another. And then you get a slowed down bit, just adding more atmosphere and moodiness to the song. And the vocals sort of like change a bit. They're the gruffest and more just they're the gruffest and most sort of like raw and almost evil sounding type on the entire album. It's more of like less like it's more of a spoken word ish type of thing where it's not spoken word, but it's like almost like that. And it just adds a lot more evil atmosphere to the rest of the song as well. And just the way Thorsten very, very, very. How do I say? I'm stumbling with my words today. I like the way he adds a very sort of like almost calm sort of spoken word thing, but also has a sinister undertone. And then the song sort of breaks away from that very quickly and goes back to the main riff just a little bit. Then it goes to a more sort of like a more not energetic, but a more slightly different closing riff, and then the song ends. But yeah, really cool song. There's a lot going on in the title track, and probably that's why I love it so much. There's just so much going on, and it's just really cool. And then the last song is actually a bonus track that was originally on an EP. The song is called Watch Out. Probably the most simplistic song on the entire album, especially lyric-wise. Like, there's some, like, one or two short verses, but most of the song is just the title repeated over and over again. Watch out, watch out. Yeah, there's some, there's some songs that, that does get really irritating. But I find with this particular song, it doesn't, because there's a lot of breaks in between. There's a lot of, other stuff going on in between. They're not just saying, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. There's a lot of different riffs, different, leads and shit playing on. Like, there's a lot of, like, different things going on. One of my favorite aspects of this song is near the end, where it goes in, where the song slows down just a bit, and it, and everything backs up, and the bass gets forefront in terms of the audio, and it gets a little bass solo. Then it goes back to the guitars, and then it goes back to not the bass, but it goes back to one of the other guitars, and it goes back again to the riff, and then everything sort of stops for a split second, and then Thorsten lets out this really evil sounding cackle, this really evil sounding laugh, and then the song starts up again, and then it ends soon after. I think that was really cool, and that's very interesting how they did that. Yeah, so that is the song that ends the album. So first off, before my final thoughts and the verdict, I do want to go over just the artwork really quickly. So the artwork is really iconic in my opinion. Anyone that's a fan of this band knows this artwork, even if they don't like the album, which I'll talk about that shortly before I end the video. But Yeah, everyone knows this artwork. Like it's iconic for the band. Um, and it fits the title of the album very well. Vengeance of Hell. It's like these almost skeleton demon looking things rising out of the ground. Like at first I thought, when I first saw the image, I thought, oh, they're rising out of like lava or water. But if you look really closely, you can see bits of like chunks of like either dirt or concrete, blasting up, and like the cracks in the ground. So they're coming out of the ground. They're not coming out of water or anything, which I thought at first. And then you get the night sky just bleeding red, which is really cool. And you get the band logo right there with the sharp edge on the H, which kind of looks like the blade of a battle axe. Then you get the name of the album right there. Scraped myself. Ow. Anyway, and then the back of the album is it's a bit simplistic, but it's very interesting. You get the of course the song titles, the logo of the band in red this time, which is really cool. Really cool seeing it in red color. Because usually you just see it in similar color to this right here. But anyway, and then you get the of course the band member credits and really cool, interesting pictures of the band. Yeah, they're wearing the traditional sort of like speed metal attire, or the black leather and the studs and the spike gauntlets and stuff. But yeah, really cool. Also, I almost forgot. You do get a poster with this, which is the image on the front of the album. Hold on. If I could get it out of here without... There it is. Sorry, I had it all the way in the back behind the actual vinyl. It's probably not going to fit all on screen, but I'll try to show you guys. There's the poster. So, my thoughts on the album. I have a whole bunch to say about this. So, first off, sort of an interesting tidbit to know before I talk about the production. This album originally came out in 1984, and I guess the band were so unhappy with the production that they actually re-released the album the next year in 1985 after they remixed it. They remixed the sound, and it sounds very different from the original 84 release. And they also released the remixed version under a different record label. So I guess it was, I guess they were just mad, maybe not mad, but maybe they were just disappointed in how the record label handled the album or something. But yeah, it was released in '84, but then re-released after they remixed the sound in '85, and went under a different record label. So the original '84 version sounds very different. More like a lot more raw. Someone on YouTube posted the original recording of that first version of the album, and someone in the comment sections summed up the production very, very well and very accurately. They said it sounds like they recorded the album in a tunnel, and that's very accurate to how the original sounded. But as for subsequent re-releases after they remixed it, I think the sound just got better and better. Although I don't hate the original version of the sound on the first album like most people do. I don't love it, but I think it's pretty decent. But as for this version, which came out this year, I believe, yeah, this version from High Roller Records came out this year, and it sounds probably the best this album's ever sounded. It doesn't sound too cleaned up. Like it doesn't sound like too overly cleaned up, but it's interesting because there's many different versions of this album, and there are a few that I also really like, but my personal opinion, this one sounds the best. Anyway, also the maybe it's not the production, I don't know, but the way the album is put together, even I'm talking in general, not just this version, but all versions, starting from the original, the way they handle the instrumentation and what sounds, what gets top priority over what and when is done perfectly. That's the one thing I can praise even about the original release is just the way they optimize the instruments and the vocals and stuff like that. They do it very well. There's a lot of bands, even older bands, that just have everything at one level, where they have the drums, the bass, the vocals, the guitar. Everything's either all at the forefront or all at the back, or or it's all all over the place. Whereas on this album with this band, like I said before earlier in the video, there are times where they want the vocals to be heard up front, they'll have those. But then they pull back the vocals and say there's a guitar bit that you want to hear, they want you to hear. So they focus on the guitar bit, then they pull that back, and they have just the way they put focus on certain elements of what's being done on these songs in the timing they do that just is very interesting to me, and it's just very well done. Again, even older bands, there's a lot of bands that just don't have that, foresight to do that kind of thing. Yeah, and then the vocals, like I said, are very cool. I don't know if they were, but his vocals do sound like Bon Scott on the higher register. And I love how he's able to juggle, three different, he doesn't have a wide range, obviously, but he does have enough range to where he could do, he could bounce between three different styles. He could do the more sort of mid-range, kind of gruff vocals. He could do the more sort of deeper, not super deep, but a slightly deeper, slightly more gruffer vocals. And then he could do the very high-pitched Bon Scott-esque vocals as well. And the way he's able to, switch between those pretty much with ease for the most part is very cool. As for the guitar work is amazing. Again, the riffs are mainly speed metal, whereas the solos are very heavy metal, traditional heavy metal inspired. The drum work is really cool. Nothing too crazy, but it does serve the music very, very well. And then the bass, even though it only pops up from time to time, it does get its moments to shine, and when it does, it sounds amazing. I absolutely love it. Overall, I'm gonna give this album a 9 out of 10. A lot of people give this album shit, even fans of the band themselves. A lot of fans of this band, I'm a fan of the band, but there's a lot of other fans that just shit on this album because of just, I don't know, maybe they haven't heard the most recent release or any of their other earlier releases besides their first version, but it's really good. If people just got to give the later releases a try, because even though it's not the best recorded album in the world, but it has gotten better over time with subsequent re-releases. Yeah, I absolutely love this album, and it's a near perfect album. If it wasn't for the fact of the song Nightlight being on here, I would have given it a 10 out of 10. But it's still near perfect, and I think, it's still a very enjoyable album. And if you're a fan of, 80s speed metal, definitely check this out. Ignore what other people have to say, and ignore the shit it gets, because it does not deserve, the shit it gets, and the hate it gets. It's definitely a hidden gem in my opinion. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.